Bangladesh, a country shrouded in darkness and untold secrets. As the poorest nation in the world, with over a third of its population living in poverty, Bangladesh also leads the globe in severe air pollution. But beneath this grim reality, the country holds mysteries that will chill you to the bone. From the bizarre shared husband custom, where mothers and daughters marry the same man, to the massive ship-breaking yards where workers labor in toxic waste amidst constant danger, Bangladesh's dark side is more unsettling than you can imagine. These stories don't just reflect the hardships faced by the people here, they also reveal a hidden world of shocking truths. Join us as we uncover 15 dark secrets of Bangladesh, where poverty and pollution are a constant threat. Are you ready to face these disturbing realities? Keep reading and don't miss out. Number 15. The shared husband tradition. Nestled in the mountains of northern Bangladesh, home to the Mandi tribe, lies one of the most unusual marriage customs in the world, the practice of sharing a husband. This is not just a unique cultural tradition, but a glimpse into a mysterious world of power, love, and family bonds within a matrilineal society. What's truly shocking is how Mandi women approach marriage after losing their husbands. Traditionally, a widow is not allowed to choose a new husband from outside the community. Instead, she must marry a man from her deceased husband's family. Imagine this: a woman not only marries a new man, but also keeps an invisible connection with her late husband through blood ties and family duties. But the oddities don't stop there. The new husband is often a young man, sometimes just an adolescent with little life experience. In many cases, to avoid conflict and ensure the happiness of the new husband, the widow will marry one of her daughters to him as a second wife. This creates a family dynamic where the husband has to navigate relationships with two generations of women, his mother-in-law and his young wife. Now picture the daily life of such a family. Who has the final say? The mother as the first wife, or the daughter, the new young wife? Tensions and conflicts can easily arise, especially when the man struggles to distinguish between the roles of each woman in this complex, multi-layered marriage. Subtle clashes and unspoken tensions are always present, turning family life into a delicate emotional web. However, this tradition is not just a mysterious custom, it reveals the Mandi people's deep commitment to protecting their family lineage. Anthropologists view this as a family symphony requiring sensitivity and finesse to maintain balance in these tangled relationships. Number 14. Child marriage in Bangladesh, the tragedy of stolen childhoods. In the impoverished villages of Bangladesh, where the light of education rarely reaches, a heartbreaking reality persists: child marriages. According to UNICEF, Bangladesh has the highest rate of child marriage in the world, with nearly 1/3 of girls married before the age of 15 and more than 60% before the age of 18. These marriages are not fairy tales, but rather grim realities tied to poverty and inequality. In many rural areas, girls are not seen as the future, but as burdens on the family. Marrying them off early is seen as a way to lighten the family load, especially in a context where unemployment is rampant, education is undervalued, and dowry pressures are overwhelming. This creates a vicious cycle with no way out. These young girls are forced to abandon their dreams of education and enter marriages where they must take on the roles of wife, mother, and sometimes victim of domestic violence. The consequences are devastating. These girls lose the chance for an education, are isolated from their communities, and often face serious health risks. Pregnancy at such a young age not only endangers their lives, but also leads to weak, undernourished children born into poverty and neglect. This creates a cruel circle. Today's child brides will grow up to become tomorrow's poor, helpless mothers. Although Bangladesh has passed laws setting the legal marriage age at 18 for women, these laws are rarely enforced in many rural areas. Families, under the pressure of tradition and survival, often forge documents to legalize these illegal marriages. Number 13. Polygamy and the marriage tax. In Bangladesh, where Islamic law allows men to have up to 4 wives, a unique policy has turned polygamy into a decision not only based on affection but also sharp economic calculations. While the government doesn't outright ban polygamy, it has implemented an unexpected deterrent: a tax that increases with each new wife. Imagine a man who wants to marry another wife. His first wife only requires a symbolic tax of about $0.90, but things escalate quickly from there. The second wife adds a tax of $45. The third wife brings it to $100, and the fourth wife imposes a hefty tax of $453. With such steep taxes, many men must think carefully before expanding their family. This policy was introduced to address the social and economic consequences of polygamy. While not entirely prohibitive, it ensures that men who wish to have multiple wives must demonstrate their financial ability to adequately support and treat them fairly. This is particularly important in rural or conservative communities, where polygamy is sometimes seen as a symbol of status and power. However, the reality is that polygamy doesn't just create financial pressure, but also increases family conflicts and inequality. Social activists and women's rights organizations have welcomed this policy as a smart move to encourage families to think carefully, while also reducing gender inequality. Although this marriage tax policy is still debated, its effectiveness cannot be denied. By tying financial responsibility to each marriage decision, Bangladesh has created an intriguing lesson in how to manage cultural practices through legal measures. Number 12. Poor hygiene in street food. Bangladesh's street food, from spicy jalmuri to refreshing sliced fruits, always attracts attention with its vibrant colors and irresistible aromas. But did you know that behind these enticing dishes lies a terrifying health threat? Poor hygiene and contaminated water are turning Bangladesh's street food scene into a ticking time bomb for disease outbreaks. A 2017 study by the Ministry of Tourism revealed that 600,000 residents of Dhaka consume food from street vendors daily, despite the risks posed by unsanitary preparation methods. Popular dishes like chotpoti, vajavuji, and sharbat are often made outdoors in Dhaka's heavy pollution. The water used to wash food and serve customers often doesn't meet safety standards, sometimes being reused multiple times, which increases the risk of bacterial contamination. One of the biggest concerns is the presence of Escherichia coli bacteria, a culprit behind dangerous intestinal diseases like diarrhea, cholera, and typhoid. According to the National Hygiene Survey, only 63% of street vendors and 68% of chefs wash their hands with soap during work. This statistic not only reflects poor hygiene awareness but also highlights the alarming danger facing both locals and tourists. So would you dare to try a plate of street food here? If you've ever had the experience, share your thoughts and impressions in the comments. Number 11. The $1 billion heist that shook the world. In 2016, one of the most sophisticated and audacious bank heists in history put Bangladesh in the global spotlight. Hackers managed to steal $1 billion from Bangladesh's central bank's foreign reserves account at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York Fed. The shocking aspect wasn't just the enormous scale, but the astonishing sophistication of how the hackers infiltrated and carried out the attack. Using the internal network of Bangladesh's central bank, the hackers sent 35 money transfer orders through the SWIFT system, considered the world's most secure international money transfer system. The target was a massive $1 billion, and each transaction was carefully crafted to avoid detection. However, the perfection of the plan was marred by a tiny but fatal mistake in one of the transactions. The word foundation was misspelled as fundation, raising suspicions and leading the bank to block most of the funds. Still, $101 million was successfully transferred before the heist was discovered. Of that, $81 million vanished into casinos in the Philippines, where anti-money laundering regulations were lax, and $20 million was sent to Sri Lanka. Fortunately, most of the money in Sri Lanka was recovered thanks to timely action by authorities. But the investigation in the Philippines faced many obstacles. The money was laundered through major casinos in Manila and disappeared without a trace. Despite international cooperation, only around $18 million of the stolen funds were recovered, while the rest remains lost forever. This heist not only caused Bangladesh to lose hundreds of millions of dollars, but also exposed critical vulnerabilities in the global banking system. The Bangladesh Central Bank came under severe criticism for lax security measures and slow responses, while the SWIFT system, once thought to be a financial security fortress, was questioned for its safety. This was not just a costly lesson for Bangladesh, but also a wake-up call for the world about the growing risks in the age of increasingly sophisticated cybercrime. Number 10. Chittagong, the world's largest ship graveyard. Tucked away along the coast of Chittagong, Bangladesh, lies a haunting sight, the world's largest ship graveyard. Here, hundreds of enormous ships, once symbols of maritime prosperity, are brought in to be dismantled and recycled, marking the end of their journey. But behind the rusting vessels lies a tragic story of environmental destruction, health risks, and human sacrifice. With over 80 ship-breaking yards stretching along 20 km of coastline, Chittagong processes more than 200 ships every year, from oil tankers to luxury cruise ships. These giant steel behemoths are sold cheaply to recycling companies after their operational life ends. The steel reclaimed from these ships becomes an essential resource for Bangladesh's economy, supplying nearly 60% of domestic steel demand, equating to about 2 million tons annually. Other parts, such as machinery and interiors, are also repurposed for profit. However, the economic gleam is far from the full story. The ship-breaking yards of Chittagong have been described as a death machine for the thousands of poor workers who risk their lives in hazardous conditions without protective gear, regularly exposed to asbestos, oil, and heavy metals. Workers earn a meager $2 to $5 per day, but the danger they face is immense. Each year, dozens of workers die from accidents, while many others suffer from chronic illnesses such as lung damage, chemical poisoning, and skin diseases. Not only are the workers at risk, but nature suffers greatly too. Waste oil, chemicals, and metals from the ships are carelessly dumped into the ocean, turning Chittagong's once thriving coastline into a dead zone. The ecosystem is severely damaged, and marine life, once vital to the livelihoods of local fishermen, is disappearing. Chittagong stands as a symbol of the intersection between massive economic benefits and the environmental and human costs involved. The dark secrets here not only shock the world but also raise crucial questions about environmental responsibility and workers' rights. Number 9. The worst slums in Bangladesh. Imagine waking up in a destitute slum where there is no clean water, no proper sanitation, and everything around you is drenched in poverty and despair. This is the harsh reality faced by millions of people in Bangladesh, particularly those who have migrated from rural areas to the big cities like Dhaka in search of survival opportunities. Every year, Bangladesh faces a series of devastating natural disasters, from cyclones to soil erosion, which not only destroy homes but also livelihoods. Forced to leave their rural homes, families move to overcrowded, poverty-stricken cities where the infrastructure cannot support the growing population. The result is the rapid expansion of slums, makeshift communities that lack even the most basic amenities. In these slums, life is a daily battle for survival. Simple homes made of bamboo and recycled plastic offer no privacy, no ventilation, and no access to clean water. People are crammed into tiny, unsanitary spaces with no hope for improvement. Children are forced to work instead of attending school, and issues like crime, domestic violence, and drug abuse are escalating. However, not all hope is lost. The government and NGOs are running projects aimed at improving the situation, from affordable housing to social welfare programs for the impoverished. While these efforts may not immediately change everything, they do bring hope to Bangladesh's poorest citizens. What are your thoughts on life in these slums? Feel free to share your reflections in the comments below. Number 8. Bangladesh's garment industry: huge profits, silent suffering. While Bangladesh leads the world in garment exports, a massive industry accounting for 85% of its annual export earnings, few know the dark side behind this success story. Bangladesh exports over $55 billion in garment goods annually, producing clothes for top brands like Zara, Levi's, and H&M. But the cost of this success is not just in the huge figures, but in the suffering of millions of workers. Around 3,500 garment factories operate in Bangladesh, producing massive quantities of goods for global corporations. With a young, cheap labor force, Bangladesh has become a goldmine for the garment industry. The country is the second largest clothing exporter in the world, after China. However, these impressive numbers hide a grim reality. With a minimum wage of only about 12,500 taka, just over $100 per month, millions of garment workers live in dire conditions. They work in unsafe environments and face the constant risk of workplace accidents due to factories not meeting basic safety standards. The most notorious incident was the collapse of the Rana Plaza factory in 2013, which shocked the world. Protests for higher wages and better working conditions are a regular occurrence. Additionally, the industry is responsible for severe environmental pollution, with chemicals from production and dyeing processes spilling into the environment, affecting public health and ecosystems. Number 7. A country drowning in toxic fog. Bangladesh, one of the most densely populated countries in the world, is also home to some of the worst air pollution on the planet. According to the 2023 World Air Quality Index, the air here is thick with PM2.5, fine particulate matter that quietly kills by causing heart disease, respiratory issues, and even cancer. Dhaka, the capital city with over 20 million people, is often smothered in a thick haze, not from fog, but from the toxic pollutants that fill the air and infiltrate every breath. The outdated transportation system is a major culprit, with thousands of diesel-powered buses and motorcycles emitting clouds of black smoke every day. Industrial factories, especially brick kilns and power plants, continue burning fossil fuels without proper pollution control, spewing enormous amounts of dust and toxic gases into the air. The situation doesn't stop there. Fields are billowing with thick smoke from farmers burning rice straw, and construction sites are springing up daily, further increasing the amount of dust and pollutants in an already suffocating atmosphere. While the government has introduced regulations on emissions and invested in eco-friendly public transport, poor enforcement means little has changed. The country's economic growth, without adequate environmental protections, has put millions at risk of illness and increased healthcare costs while reducing overall productivity. Number 6. Dying rivers. Bangladesh, a country driven by its booming garment industry, is paying a heavy price for its rapid growth. Poisoned, dying rivers. Known as the workshop of the world, Bangladesh produces millions of garments for global brands, but behind the scenes, its rivers are being destroyed. The Beriganga River, which runs through Dhaka, is a tragic example of this environmental disaster. Over 400 years ago, when the city was founded, people gathered by the river to enjoy the fresh air. Today, the Beriganga has become a giant sewer, its waters blackened and contaminated with deadly toxins like chromium and cadmium, substances that are incredibly dangerous. Leather tanneries dump tons of dyes, acids, and chemicals into the river, raising the toxicity levels to 6 times higher than what the World Health Organization considers safe. This pollution is not only harming people's health, but it's also turning the lives of millions living along the river into a nightmare. Hundreds of factories dump untreated wastewater directly into the water, creating a stench that has become the hallmark of the area. The residents, feeling powerless, know their complaints will go unheard because businesses can easily avoid responsibility. Imagine one of the country's most important rivers, once a lifeline, now a symbol of filth and destruction. What are your thoughts on Bangladesh's environmental crisis? Number 5. The deepening wealth gap. While much of the world is advancing, Bangladesh is struggling with a widening wealth gap. It's a poor country where 31.5% of the population, equivalent to 50.7 million people, live below the poverty line. This is an alarming figure, more than double the population of a country like Australia. Poverty in Bangladesh isn't just a material issue, it also traps people in a vicious cycle of inadequate education, poor healthcare, and a lack of opportunities to improve their lives. The country's wealth gap is also shocking. According to the World Bank, the poorest 20% of the population control just 8.9% of the country's wealth, while the richest 20% hold 41.5%. The divide is stark and harsh. The rich benefit from the country's booming economy, while the poor remain mired in poverty. This inequality is further exacerbated by limited access to quality education and healthcare for the poor, keeping them stuck in poverty. Natural disasters like floods and cyclones worsen their situation, destroying homes, crops, and livelihoods and pushing millions into even greater hardship. Addressing this inequality is one of Bangladesh's biggest challenges. To create a fairer society, the government must work alongside social organizations to provide equal opportunities for all. Can Bangladesh break the cycle of poverty? What are your thoughts on the country's wealth divide? Number 4. The Bhola cyclone, a devastating natural disaster. On November 12, 1970, one of the deadliest natural disasters in modern history struck, killing over 500,000 people. The Bhola cyclone, which formed in the Bay of Bengal, brought winds reaching 185 kilometers per hour and waves higher than 10 meters. When it made landfall in Bangladesh, then East Pakistan, it caused catastrophic flooding, wiping out entire coastal villages and destroying everything in its path. In the Ganges Delta, rising sea levels flooded hundreds of thousands of hectares of land, turning it into a waterlogged wasteland. Entire neighborhoods, homes, and crops were swept away in hours, leaving millions homeless and facing hunger and disease. The Bhola cyclone wasn't just a natural disaster, it exposed the failures of the West Pakistani government, which responded slowly and indifferently to the suffering of millions in East Pakistan. As cries for help echoed through the delta, the government's slow response sparked outrage. They felt abandoned, seeing the indifference of the West Pakistani government as the last straw, which fueled the political tension that had been simmering for a long time. Just months after the cyclone, this anger erupted into the Bangladesh Liberation War on March 26, 1971. With support from India, the movement lasted 9 months, ending with the creation of the People's Republic of Bangladesh on December 16, 1971. The Bhola cyclone, though a tragic memory, became a turning point in the country's history. Number 3. A Muslim nation. Imagine a country where 90% of the population practices Islam. With over 150 million people, that's Bangladesh, home to the third largest Muslim population in the world. Islam has been a central part of the country's culture since it first arrived in Bengal in the 7th century, shaping social values and daily life. Each year, the entire nation celebrates major Islamic holidays like Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha, when the country comes alive with joy and festivity. Magnificent Islamic architecture, from mosques to ancient shrines, is an integral part of Bangladesh's cultural landscape. However, the country's deep Islamic identity has also led to challenges. Religious discrimination and occasional conflicts have created social tensions. These issues threaten the country's peace and security, making interfaith dialogue and peace education more important than ever. Number 2. Chaotic traffic. Bangladesh greets you with a traffic nightmare that's as much a part of daily life as the air itself. Dhaka, the capital of the country, is frequently overwhelmed by horrific traffic jams. Rickshaws squeeze between old cars, crowded taxis, and buses packed with people, creating a chaotic traffic scene that few countries can match. But the traffic issues go deeper. Narrow streets, potholes, and seasonal flooding during the monsoon turn getting around into a daily battle for survival for both locals and visitors. Yet, despite the madness, the streets are alive with energy. Bustling markets, colorful street vendors, and the constant honking of horns create a vibrant, chaotic atmosphere. Rickshaws, though a common alternative mode of transportation, are part of the problem. These vehicles not only contribute to traffic congestion but also cause severe environmental pollution, and with a poor public transportation system, overcrowded buses only add to the pressure on the streets. Bangladesh's development is hindered by its outdated transportation system, but the people have learned to adapt, showing resilience in the face of daily challenges. Their ability to cope and persevere is a powerful example of endurance. Number 1. Dhaka, the rickshaw capital. In the heart of Asia, there's a city that stands out not just for its overcrowded streets but also for the iconic rickshaws that define it. Dhaka, the capital of Bangladesh, with over 12 million residents, is one of the most densely populated and bustling cities in the world, where life is always in motion. Nestled along the Daleswari River, Dhaka has earned the title of the rickshaw capital of the world. This nickname is well-deserved, with around 400,000 rickshaws navigating the narrow, vibrant, and chaotic streets of the city each day. Rickshaws are undoubtedly the soul of Dhaka. In a city with such a dense population and narrow roads, rickshaws are often the only mode of transport capable of weaving through the tight spaces, helping the residents go about their daily lives. They are not just a means of transportation, but a unique cultural feature, representing the vibrancy and energy of Bangladesh's capital. When you visit Dhaka, you will witness an unmistakable scene: thousands of rickshaws, carrying people and goods, weaving their way through the streets, adding to the distinct rhythm of the city. The blend of modernity and tradition in its traffic is something you won't find anywhere else. So we've uncovered 15 dark secrets hidden within Bangladeshi society, a country struggling with widespread poverty, terrifying air pollution, and haunting stories. Despite the countless challenges faced by the people here, these issues highlight the stark contrast between rapid development and unresolved crises. Bangladesh, with all its hidden corners, continues to be an essential part of the modern world's narrative. We're sure you have your own thoughts about this country, and we'd love to hear them. Leave your comments below, share your thoughts, and don't forget to like and subscribe to never miss our next explorative video.